Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. Into the Houston Texans have released Desmond King II, who has been with the Houston Texans since 2021. Last year, we saw the Houston Texans cut him in last year's 2023 roster cut down, and it was actually a roster cut I think the Texans regretted because the Texans ended up bringing back. Yeah, they ended up bringing back Desmond King II, and he ended up playing 7 games for the Texans. He played 3 games for the Steelers. Then they cut him. He was a little bit banged up and injured, and then the Texans picked him up. He played 7 games with the Texans. He had 3 starts. He had 2 passes defensed. He had a fumble. He had 1 sack. He had 47 tackles. He had 5 tackles for loss with 2 QB hits. If you guys remember, he had a big play against the Jacksonville Jaguars in his first game back with the Texans. I believe this was Week 11 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The game that the Texans did lose was like 24-21, something like that. It was almost halftime, and the Texans were down 13-7 going into the half. And Trevor Lawrence throws a dot to Christian Kirk. He has a great run. Someone was able, I don't remember who it was, but someone was able to stop him at the 1-yard line. I think it was Jalen Petrie that was able to stop him at the 1-yard line. So with 1 second left and at the 1-yard line, the Jaguars are in a position, you can go kick a field goal. You can kick an 18-yard field goal, and you can make it a 16-7 lead going into the half, or you can go for a touchdown and get 6 points or potentially 7. I don't even want to say potentially 7 points, because I think in that situation there's a chance the Jaguars might have gone for their 2-point conversion in that situation, because let's say that I would say if you're in the situation where you score a touchdown, Jacksonville right there, up by 6 in a crucial division game. If they would have scored a touchdown, I think Jacksonville would have gone for 2. So you're talking about them potentially making it a 14-point lead, 21-7. And they hand the ball off to Travis Etienne, and Desmond King is there to take him down for a tackle for loss. And Jacksonville ends up getting no points. I thought that was a huge momentum play. I know the Texans did not win. I remember that exact play too. I remember I was so fired up. I know the Texans didn't win that game, and if you look at it, if the Texans were to win that game, if they did pull out a W, which they were pretty close. I mean, Matt Amendola missed a 58-yard field goal by just an inch or two, and the Texans would have sent it to overtime if he makes that field goal. But that was still a huge play. I would say it's one of my favorite plays from the season because that is a situation where Jacksonville they basically had a free touchdown. Christian Kirk was walking into the end zone or running into the end zone until Jalen Petrie took him down, and then that gives him life, and then Desmond King makes that play. I know the Texans lose that game, but it was still one of my favorite moments from this past season. Desmond King, like I mentioned, played 7 games, 1 sack, 47 tackles in those 7 games. But in 2022 with the Texans, he played 17 games with 13 starts, 2 interceptions, 30 yards returned on the interceptions, 8 passes defense, 2 fumble recoveries, which he returned for 20 yards, 89 tackles, and 10 tackles for loss. 2021 with the Texans, 16 games, 12 starts, 3 interceptions, 25 yards returned, 6 passes defense, 1 forced fumble with 93 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Now, I'm not surprised the Texans are cutting Desmond King today, because I went to the Texans game against the Giants where the Texans won 28-10. I thought it was really weird a couple weeks ago when I noticed that Desmond King was playing really late, like late into the third quarter, early fourth quarter is where he's getting reps all the way late into the game. Then here comes the last preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams. Not only does he fumble a punt return and LA gets the football back and scores a touchdown, but he also is playing, again, third, fourth quarter. That's where he's getting his defensive reps. So sure was he playing a little bit earlier in the game on special teams, because I know the Texans really like him on special teams. He was getting earlier reps on the special teams with the special teams unit for the Texans. But on defense, he was playing really late into the games, and someone who's going to make the roster doesn't really get that. I thought he was going to make the roster going into training camp, but something made them change their minds, and it wasn't really like that last year. You weren't really seeing him deep into the games last year. That's why it was so surprising. This is not very surprising, because we know he was playing deep into the games. That means they were thinking about, they were thinking about cutting him. They needed him to do something to make the roster. He didn't do anything. He had 2 tackles in the 4 games of the preseason. He fumbled. He fumbled on a punt return. He didn't do anything. Actually, he did bad things like fumbling a punt. So I'd love to see him on this roster, because he is a good cornerback. He didn't show it. He did not show it one bit in the preseason with the Houston Texans, but still would have liked to see him, get a chance. But I think there are cornerbacks that did a better job. D'Angelo Ross is a guy that made the roster. He did a good job in the preseason. There are other guys that should have made they could have made the roster over him if he would have made the roster, and you would have been cutting someone in that cornerback room that deserved to be on the roster. So as much as I was so much against the Texans cutting Desmond King the second last year, I don't have a problem with it this year, because he was terrible in the preseason. Let me know your thoughts on the Houston Texans cutting Desmond King in the comment section, and peace out. Go Texans.